This video is about how to actually write an essay on Lord of the Flies for section A of your first literature paper. You'll be confronted with a question about a character or a theme, or maybe even a passage from Lord of the Flies, something like the one that we've got in front of us here. What is the importance of Piggy in Lord of the Flies? What methods does Golding use to present him? Now, even if you don't get that sub-question about what methods does Golding use to present him or to present a theme, one of the things that you're assessed on is your analysis of how Golding writes the novel. So even if you only have a question that says something like, what do you think of Jack in Lord of the Flies, or who would be the best leader on the island, or how does Golding present the island, you must think about what methods Golding is using and how he uses language. So the main things the examiner wants you to show in your response are: do you understand the novel? Can you find examples to prove your understanding of a character or a theme or a passage with specific examples from the text? Can you analyse Golding's use of language, symbolism, maybe the way the text is put together as a whole? And have you thought about how the question or the topic or the passage relates to Golding's overall purpose in writing the book? Do you understand why he bothered writing the book in the first place? So then you come to planning your essay. Two things are important here. Firstly, have you got something to say? What are you going to say about Piggy's importance? What's he like? Maybe what does he show about other characters, or what do other characters show about him? How does he fit into Golding's overall purpose in writing the book? How does he fit into the bigger themes about civilization, for example? And what evidence will you use? You've got to have some quotations to make the essay specific and precise. So obviously try to revise some quotations in advance, but you'll have the book with you as well. Be smart in your choices of quotations. You want quotations that aren't too long, but they're rich in terms of what they show you about characters and themes, and hopefully some quotations that have got some interesting language devices that are used within them, or some interesting kind of word choices. You want to know where key moments are in the novel, because if there's a question that you didn't think would turn up and you don't know quotations for that, you want to be able to find some at least key moments in the book that you could use and get to them quickly. In terms of the structure of your essay, keep it fairly simple. You'll have an introduction where you'll sum up here the importance of Piggy as a character and how Golding uses him, and what the point of that is. Make sure you answer the question directly. Examiners don't want you starting with some kind of Golding wrote the novel in this year and just a generic start. I want you to answer the question that you've been given, to make sure it's about Piggy and his importance in this question. Your main paragraphs are going to be where you justify whatever you've written in the introduction, proving, if you like, your understanding. So paragraphs on key moments of evidence. You can do these in kind of chronological order in terms of the novel, but you can decide what's going to work best. If in the exam you think you can structure things in a more sophisticated way than that, then great, but writing them in the order in which things happen is absolutely fine. And then a quick conclusion, just 1 or 2 lines if you get a chance at the end, summing up your answer to the question. In terms of writing an actual paragraph, putting it together, this is an example of a kind of paragraph that might turn up in an essay about Piggy. A few things to note about it, but just read it to start with. When Piggy dies, we are told that the conch exploded into 1,000 tiny fragments and ceased to exist. This clearly suggests that Piggy upholds democracy, and that when he dies, law and order symbolically die with him. Additionally, the adjective white reminds readers of the purity of democratic ideals, yet by referring to the 1,000 tiny fragments, Golding makes the reader consider how fragile and vulnerable rules are in the face of violence and dictatorship. There's a few things just to note about a paragraph like this. Firstly, the quote has been introduced. Better to not start a sentence or a paragraph just with a quotation. Here we've got, when Piggy dies, we are told that. and then the quotation is embedded nicely into the sentence, into the paragraph. So explain where it comes from. Be formal in your style. Here we've got "we are told", we've got some nice vocabulary, we've got a connective like "additionally" to make things a bit more fluent, a few literary terms like we've got the word "symbolically" here, and generally the whole thing reads in quite a professional way. Specific evidence, so we've got our quotation. Analysis, detailed analysis, so after the quotation the rest of the paragraph is showing our understanding of what that quotation means, including some language analysis. So here we've picked out part of that quotation, 1,000 tiny fragments, and explained what that phrase does to add to our understanding, so a bit of extra depth. And finally, at the end of the paragraph, some thought about why Golding is using Piggy in this way, or why he's presenting Piggy in this way. So we've written about Piggy and about what Piggy represents, but then at the end we've got a sense of Golding's overall purpose in writing the novel. Golding makes the reader consider how fragile and vulnerable rules are in the face of violence and dictatorship, in terms of somebody like Jack, for instance. So that's more about the why. This is just showing that we understand the whole novel, and a few references like that would be great. You don't want to do too many, you need to stick to the actual question you've been given, but a sense of that will make the examiner really confident that you understand the whole book rather than just individual characters or themes, but you can see how it all works together. A few extra tips for your essays on Lord of the Flies. Prepare some precise vocabulary. Don't rely on yourself in the exam to always be able to think of the right word for, I don't know, an adjective for Jack or Roger, or maybe a literary term. Do some revision of those things so that you feel really confident with your similes and metaphors and zoomorphism or whatever it might be. Learn some quotations where you know that you can analyse the language, so be smart about the quotations that you learn. And remember your personal response. Now, that might be just explaining how a character or a theme kind of has an impact on you,